The galaxy was quiet that night. Stars burned like silver fires in the endless black. Fleets drifted along their patrol routes with the same arrogance they always carried. The great empires believed nothing could shake them. Their weapons were unmatched, their numbers countless, their ships spread across thousands of systems. They believed they ruled the stars, and then a transmission arrived. It was not a cry for help. It was not the usual desperate signal of some weak frontier world falling to raiders. It was a warning. Human voice, steady and calm, carried across the subspace channels of the galaxy, repeating in every tongue the machines could translate. "This is Earth. Stand down. Do not test us. Do not come closer. We will not give another warning." The words were simple, but the way they were spoken froze more than a few hearts. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't desperate. It was quiet, measured, like a promise. On the council world of Threx, the alien senators listened as the message looped again. Laughter filled the chamber. The towering lizard-like warlords of the Varax's empire mocked the humans, calling them primitives who had only just built proper warships. The insectoid hive queens hissed in amusement, speaking of Earth as a small world trying to bark like a predator. Even the machine intelligence of the Catheris Collective calculated the probability of human success and dismissed it as statistically irrelevant. To them, humanity was nothing but another young species making noise. But not everyone laughed in. The shadows of the chamber, Admiral Kale of the Dominion, kept his 4 eyes fixed on the holoscreen. He had fought wars across the rim, he had seen species beg before their destruction, and this voice was not begging. This voice carried no fear, it carried certainty, and certainty was dangerous. He turned to his aides and whispered that the council should tread carefully, that perhaps the humans were not as weak as they appeared. But the others dismissed him. They ignored the warning. They always ignored warnings. Soon after, the council sent probes toward the Sol system to prove Earth's arrogance. Dozens of stealth drones slipped through the void, silent machines armed with the best sensors in the galaxy. They were built to see everything, to pierce through any deception. Yet one by one, the signals went dark. No wreckage, no distress, no trace of what happened. The probes vanished as if swallowed by the stars. The council thought it was a malfunction. But when the debris of one drone drifted out of the void, a twisted shell, its core vaporized with surgical precision, the laughter in the chamber grew quieter. The humans had destroyed it cleanly, without leaving evidence of how to cross the galaxy. Whispers began to spread. Merchant captains told stories of trade ships disappearing near human space. Pirates who once hunted weaker civilizations now refused to go near Sol. Entire patrol fleets sent to scout the human borders failed to return. All that was found were fragments of hull plating, drifting silently in the void. Some claimed to have seen streaks of light too fast for the eye to follow, weapons that struck before scanners could react. Others swore they heard voices in there. Human voices that whispered warnings seconds before their ships tore apart. Fear began to crawl beneath the skin of the galaxy. But still the great empires called it lies and superstition. Back on Earth, the skies over the military command city of Titan Base glowed with ships launching into orbit. The United Terran Fleet was no longer a dream. It was a reality, forged in silence, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy. For decades, humanity had watched the stars, had seen the arrogance of alien empires, had listened to how they treated weaker races. They knew the day would come when the council would turn its gaze on them, and so they prepared. Entire moons became shipyards. Asteroids were hollowed into fortresses. AI war drones swarmed like steel locusts, waiting to be unleashed. Earth had not spoken its warning out of pride. It had spoken it because the time was coming when the galaxy would test their strength. Admiral Reyes stood on the command deck of the battleship Invictus, his eyes fixed on the projection of the stars. The warning message continued to broadcast, echoing into every system. His officers waited in silence, tense but ready. He knew the galaxy would not listen. They never listened. They believed humanity was small, fragile, unworthy of fear. Soon, when the First Empire sent its fleets into Sol, the truth would be revealed. Humanity's patience had ended, and when patience ended, fire followed, and so the galaxy ignored the signal. They mocked the words. They called it the arrogance of a young species trying to play at war. But far beyond their borders, in the silent, dark around Earth, fleets of human warships gathered, weapons armed, shields glowing. The warning had been given, and the humans had spoken the truth. They would not give another. The silence that followed was not peace. It was the sound before. The storm. The council did not wait long to respond. Pride moved faster than wisdom, and arrogance was always the sharpest blade of the great empires. Only 2 weeks after Earth's warning had been broadcast, the Vrakus Empire demanded action. Their fleets were unmatched, they claimed. Their war record was long, their enemies countless. To them, humanity was a young species with too much confidence. They promised the council a swift and glorious demonstration of power. And so the council agreed, not because they feared Earth, but because they feared the Vrakus more. No one wished to stand against them. No one thought Earth could survive. The invasion fleet was massive, 200 warships, each bristling with weapons that had leveled countless colonies. They launched from the Vrakus capital like a storm of steel and fire, their engines burning bright in the void. The galaxy watched in silence as the fleet crossed into soul space. Holofeeds captured every moment, broadcast across thousands of systems. To most it was entertainment, a cruel show of dominance, while alien citizens filled taverns and arenas to watch humans be crushed. They expected a short battle, no more than minutes, followed by images of burning cities on Earth's surface. That was the future everyone imagined. But reality was different. The Vrakus fleet slipped past the outer soul defenses. But something strange happened. Their long-range sensors began to fail, one by one. Shadows moved across their screens, signals scrambled, radar blinded. Pilots cursed in their cockpits, engineers tore through diagnostics, commanders shouted orders, but the confusion grew worse. The void itself seemed alive. Then, without warning, the first human strike came. It began. As a whisper, small flashes in the distance, like sparks on the edge of their vision. The Vrakus ships tried to track them, but the sparks vanished. A heartbeat later, the lead battleship exploded, ripped in half by an invisible force. No one saw the weapon that struck it. The wreckage drifted, burning bright as the crew screamed over open coms before silence claimed them. Panic spread through the fleet, but before they could regroup, 3 more ships were gone. Precise, surgical kills. Every blast hitting command centers and reactor cores. Across the galaxy, billions of spectators watched in stunned silence. The holofeeds captured the destruction in real time. This was not the slaughter they expected. This was something else. The humans had not just struck first, they struck with weapons the galaxy had never seen. Inside the command ship of the Vrakus fleet, Admiral Thoreau slammed his claws against the console. He demanded to know where the humans were hiding, what kind of trick this was. His officers reported nothing but static and ghost signals. Human ships moved too fast, vanishing before scanners could lock. Some appeared like shadows on the edge of sight, sleek and black against the stars, then fired weapons that cut through shields as if they didn't exist. Thoreau's roared in rage, but deep inside, fear was growing. This was no primitive race. This was no child world pretending to be strong. This was power hidden until now. On Earth, Admiral Reyes stood aboard the Invictus, watching the battle unfold through tactical screens. His voice was calm as he gave the order. Engage Phase 2. Across Sol, fleets hidden inside asteroid bases and dark stations activated. Hundreds of drones burst into the void, swarming like a storm of steel insects. They had no pilots. Only cold AI cores programmed with ruthless precision. They tore into the Vrakus fleet without hesitation, overwhelming them from every angle. Missiles cut through engines. Railguns shattered hulls. Beams of white light burned through ships as if they were made of paper. The Vrakus fought back. Their cannons spat fire. Their missiles streaked through the dark. And for a moment it seemed they might hold. Dozens of drones were destroyed, torn apart by their fury. But then the second wave of human warships appeared. Massive battleships, black as night, emerged from stealth. Their hulls carried no markings. Their weapons glowed with a light the galaxy had never seen. They fired once, and a line of Vrax's ships simply ceased to exist, gone in a storm of light. The invasion fleet broke. Ships scattered in every direction, their formations collapsing. Some tried to flee, but human ships were faster. They hunted them down, cutting them apart one by one. Only a handful escaped, limping back across the void, to carry the tale of what had happened. Out of 200 warships, less than 20 survived. The galaxy was silent. Billions, who had tuned in to watch the humans burn instead, witnessed the greatest defeat in Council history. The holofeeds replayed the destruction over and over, showing ships shattering like glass, showing human warships gliding through the dark like predators. No one laughed now. No one mocked. The fear Admiral Kale had seen in the humans' warning was real. Now the galaxy understood. But on Earth, there was no celebration. In Titan Base, commanders gathered around the war. Table Admiral Reyes did not smile at the victory. He knew this was only the beginning. The Council would not accept this humiliation. The empires would not let their pride die so easily. The Vraxes had been the first to test humanity, but they would not be the last. Already, Reyes knew, more fleets were being prepared. The storm was coming, and humanity would have to show even greater strength. The signal had been sent. The first strike had been made. And the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. Humanity was not weak, not small, not prey. Humanity was the predator waiting in the dark. The news of the Vrax's defeat reached the Galactic Council faster than light could travel, bouncing through encrypted channels, whispered by panicked messengers, and screamed across open frequencies that could not be silenced. 200 warship ships that had crushed entire civilizations were gone. The survivors' recordings showed only fragments, shadows in the dark. Human ships striking like predators, weapons that shattered shields and ripped through armor as if they were nothing. The galaxy had expected Earth to burn, but instead, the Vraxes burned and the council chambers now shook with fear. The great hall of the council, carved from the stone of a dead world, had never been so silent. For centuries it had been filled with prideful voices, with empires boasting of their power, with arguments over trade and war. But on this day, only whispers filled the air. Holoscreens displayed the wreckage of the Vraxes fleet, broken hulls, spinning through the black, each image stabbed at the pride of the council races. The Vraxes themselves were humiliated. Their ambassador, a towering reptilian figure with scales like steel, stood trembling as others sneered at him. Once feared, the Vraxes now looked weak. Yet behind that weakness was something far more dangerous: rage. The Vraxes demanded vengeance. They slammed their claws against the stone tables, roaring for another war fleet to be assembled. Larger this time, strong enough to erase Earth completely. Their words were fire, but no one joined them. Not this time. For the first time in centuries, the other empires did not bow to Vrax's threats. Instead, they exchanged nervous glances, each one wondering the same thing. If humanity could do this to the Vraxes, what could they do to us? Ambassador Loran of the Jethi Union spoke first, his voice low but steady. You all saw what they did. Weapons that bypassed shields, drones that moved faster than sensors could track, warships that struck with impossible precision. Tell me how many of us could survive that? His words hung in the air like a blade. None of the council leaders answered. None wanted to admit the truth. None of them could. Ambassador Kale, the one who had first warned them of Earth's defiance, rose slowly. His feathers were ruffled, his eyes sharp. You did not listen to me when I told you they were different, he said. Now you see it. The humans are not children. They are not weak. They are predators who have hidden their claws. And now, those claws are dripping with the blood of the Vraxes. Some hissed in anger, some muttered in denial, but most stayed silent. Fear was crawling through them, cold and sharp. The humans had not just won a battle, they had shattered the illusion of council dominance. If Earth could stand against the Vraces, then Earth could stand against anyone. The council began to argue, their voices rising like storm winds. Some demanded peace, immediate talks with Earth before things grew worse. Others called for war, not because they wanted to fight, but because their pride could not allow surrender. A few whispered of something even darker, secret alliances with Earth, a way to survive when the rest of the galaxy burned. And through it all, the humans watched. Hidden probes slipped through council space, listening, recording, sending everything. Back to Sol. Admiral Reyes stood in Titan base, his eyes fixed on the streams of council arguments. He did not smile. He saw fear, yes, but also danger. Fear made empires unpredictable. Fear made them desperate. And desperate empires were the most dangerous enemies of all. Back in the council chambers, the meeting broke apart in chaos. Ambassadors stormed out, shouting threats and promises. The Varaxes swore vengeance, but no one pledged ships to their cause. For the first time, the mighty empire stood alone. The galaxy was changing and everyone felt it. That night, across dozens of worlds, ordinary citizens whispered about Earth. In taverns, in markets, in dark alleys, the story spread like wildfire. They spoke of a small planet that had stood against giants, of humans who fought like demons, of fleets that vanished into shadows and struck with invisible claws. Like some were afraid, others were inspired. But everywhere, one question rose above the rest. What else are the humans hiding? Because the battle in Sol had shown only a glimpse of Earth's strength. And deep inside, everyone knew it. The galaxy did not sleep after the news of the Vraxis defeat. Entire star systems buzzed with tension, every empire racing to learn what humanity truly was. Fleets were quietly repositioned. Spies were dispatched. Scientists dissected the battle recordings frame by frame, trying to explain the impossible. But nothing made sense. The human ships had moved like predators stalking prey, their weapons tearing through shields that were supposed to be invincible. Every attempt to explain it ended with silence, because the truth was something no one wanted to admit. Humanity had technology and tactics beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, and yet humans themselves remained quiet. No threats. Demands, no desperate messages asking for peace. Instead, Earth vanished into the shadows of its own space. Patrols disappeared behind hidden jump gates. Fleets moved, but no one could track where. The galaxy began to realize the most terrifying part of it all. Humanity was not boasting. They were not showing off their power. They were hiding it, across. The stars' paranoia grew like fire on dry grass. On the industrial world of Tharn, military leaders whispered of human fleets already moving through the dark lanes of hyperspace. On the markets of Helier, merchants refused to trade with Vraxis. Envoys, fearing human retaliation. Even the great intelligence networks of the Zelari found only fragments of movement shadow fleets that slipped in and out of sensor range, as if daring them to follow. The Council tried to hold order, but their authority was crumbling. Empire had its own response to the human threat. The Jethi Union, the most cautious of them all, began strengthening their borders, building stations on every jump point. The Zalari tried to open secret channels to Earth, sending disguised envoys into human space. The Varaxis, humiliated and enraged, built another fleet twice the size of the first, swearing vengeance even as their allies abandoned them. But beneath the politics, fear infected the ordinary people. Across colonies, civilians looked up at the night sky and wondered if the humans were already watching them. Soldiers spoke in hushed tones of invisible fleets that could wipe them out in seconds. Rumors spread faster than truth, stories of humans who could hack into minds, of weapons that could burn planets to ash, of a force so old and terrible it had simply been waiting to rise again. And all the while, Earth watched inside Titan base. Admiral Reyes stood over a map of the galaxy glowing in blue light. Dozens of red markers pulsed where probes had slipped past Council defenses. The humans were not only preparing for defense, they were mapping everything, every fleet, every supply line, every weakness. Reyes looked at the map not with arrogance, but with grim determination. He knew war was coming, whether Earth wanted it or not. The galaxy would not forgive what happened to the Vraxis fleet. Pride would not allow it. At the same time, on Earth itself, ordinary people felt the change. Cities glowed brighter, factories roared louder, war industries working at full speed. The skies above were filled with constant launches. Heavy lifters carrying parts for new warships, satellites, and weapons platforms. But despite the war effort, the people of Earth were not afraid. They had seen what their fleets could do. Believed, deep in their bones, that they could face anything. And that belief was the very thing that terrified the galaxy most. The shadows grew deeper when reports began to surface of human fleets appearing far from Sol, striking without warning. On the mining colony of Calor, Vraxis patrols vanished. Overnight, their ships found days later, drifting, cut apart with surgical precision.
Ow.
On the border of the Gethi Union, listening posts detected strange bursts of energy human ships, testing new weapons in the dark void. Each empire kept the news secret, afraid to admit the truth, but the whispers still spread. The humans were not waiting. They were preparing for total war. Back in the council chambers, the ambassadors argued again, but this time their voices trembled. None dared to say it aloud, but all of them felt the same truth pressing on them. Humanity was moving like a storm, building on the horizon, silent, hidden, unstoppable. The galaxy had believed Earth was small, unimportant, weak. Now they saw the mistake. The humans had only shown their claws because the Vraxis forced them to. And if those claws could destroy one empire's pride, what would happen when the full storm broke? The shadows stretched longer. Fleets repositioned, colonies braced for war, and every world in the galaxy held its breath. Humanity had stepped out of the darkness, and now the galaxy realized something too late. Shadows were where predators hunted best. The galaxy waited in silence, every empire watching Earth with nervous eyes, hoping that somehow the humans would retreat back into the shadows and let things return to normal. But deep down, no one truly believed that would happen. The silence from Earth was not weakness, it was patience. Patience from a predator was more terrifying than open threats. The first revelation came not from a battle, but from a broadcast. Without warning, across thousands of star systems, communication networks were hijacked. Screens flickered. Transmissions cut to black. Then, one by one, images appeared not of Earth's leaders, not of soldiers or admirals, but of a planet itself. Earth hung in space, oceans glowing blue, continents marked with cities of light, a living world full of energy. Then the message came, a voice carried in every language of the galaxy, simple and clear. We are humanity. We asked for peace. You answered with war. Now you will see the truth. The feed shifted. For the first time, the galaxy saw what Earth had hidden. Shipyards, stretching across the orbits of Earth, Mars, and Titan armies of warships being constructed in silence. Fleets already completed, their hulls black as night, engines burning with power beyond anything alien engineers understood. Weapons arrays glowing with energy that made plasma cannons look like children's toys. And most terrifying of all, the fleets were not small. Humanity had not built dozens of ships. They had built thousands. The galaxy froze in shock. Empires that had believed themselves untouchable suddenly realized they were outnumbered, outgunned, and outplanned. Even the most powerful fleets would not survive if humanity unleashed what they had built. Whispers turned to panic in council chambers. Some called it a bluff, a trick meant to frighten them. But then came the second revelation. Human ships began to move in perfect formations. Fleets launched from Sol, cutting across the void with frightening speed. No hyperspace beacons, no trade routes. The humans had their own pathways, hidden jump networks that bypassed the known maps. The revelation struck harder than any weapon. Humanity had not only built fleets in secret, they had mastered travel across the stars in ways no empire had imagined. That knowledge meant the humans could appear anywhere, at any time, without warning. On the Jethi border, listening stations trembled as a human fleet appeared only one jump away from their core world, then vanished before the Union could even respond. On the edges of Zalari space, probes sent back fragments of impossible readings, human ships testing weapons that twisted space itself. Even the mighty Vraxes, rebuilding in desperation, received a message carved into the wreckage of their patrol fleet. This is only a fraction. Inside Earth's War Command, Admiral Reyes watched the galaxy's reaction unfold. He did not smile, nor boast, nor declare victory. To him, this was not about pride. It was about survival. He knew the galaxy would never forgive humanity for revealing such power. They would fear it, envy it, and one day unite to destroy it. But by revealing Earth's strength now, Reyes ensured no empire could pretend humanity was weak again. The galaxy would have to think twice before striking. The people of Earth watched the broadcasts too, and for the first time they saw themselves as the galaxy did not as a small, fragile world, but as something vast and unstoppable. Factories roared louder, shipyards worked without pause. Entire generations looked up at the night sky and believed they were not only safe, but destined to shape the stars. Humanity had shown its strength, and the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge it. But fear has its own consequences. Across alien worlds, protests erupted. Civilians demanded protection. Soldiers muttered about hopeless wars. Leaders whispered of surrender before the fight even began. And yet, in the darker corners of the galaxy, another reaction began to spread. Some empires, too proud to bow, began forging secret alliances. They whispered of building a coalition not to negotiate, but to destroy Earth before it became too powerful to stop. The revelation had shifted everything. Humanity was no longer a mystery hidden in the dark. Were a storm made visible, a force the galaxy could not ignore. And as the alien leaders stared at the glowing fleets on their screens, a single thought echoed in every mind. A thought none dared to speak aloud. If this is what Earth reveals willingly, what are they still keeping hidden? The galaxy had seen Earth's true power, and it regretted it instantly. The galaxy trembled under the shadow of Earth's fleets, but fear alone would not keep ancient empires from acting. In the hidden chambers of the Galactic Council, rulers and warlords gathered, their faces grim, their voices sharp with desperation. For centuries they had argued, fought, and schemed against one another. Now, for the first time, they stood united not out of trust, but out of survival. Humanity's revelation had left them no choice. If they did nothing, their thrones, their fleets, their worlds would burn. The plan was whispered in secret, carried on encrypted channels, hidden even from their own people. They would strike not with open fleets, but with a coalition built in shadows. Spies, assassins, saboteurs, and mercenary fleets were gathered, bought with promises of wealth and power. From every empire, weapons once outlawed were unearthed planet crackers. Gravity mines and viral payloads meant to shatter entire civilizations. They called it the last gamble, because none of them believed they could survive if it failed. Across the galaxy, small strikes began. Listening posts near Sol went dark. Supply convoys feeding Earth's colonies vanished without a trace. In the asteroid belts of Proxima, entire mining stations exploded under hidden charges. These were not random accidents. They were tests, probing Earth's defenses, searching for weakness. But every strike was met with something the aliens had not expected: speed. Humanity responded before the smoke cleared. Saboteurs were captured, mercenary fleets ambushed, viruses countered. Before they spread, it was as if Earth knew the plan before it was even set in motion. Inside Earth's War Command, Admiral Reyes stood over the glowing maps, his eyes fixed on the patterns unfolding across the stars. He had seen this coming. Humanity had always known the galaxy would unite against them the moment they revealed their strength. That was why Earth had prepared not just ships and weapons, but intelligence. Every empire's encrypted codes had already been broken, every spy network mapped, every secret path marked on Earth's charts. When the galaxy gambled, they gambled against an opponent who already held all their cards, but the galaxy still had numbers. The coalition fleets, though fractured, were massive. On the edge of neutral space, they gathered in silence, thousands of ships from every empire, packed together in uneasy formation. It was a sight never before seen. Ancient rivals, standing side by side, united by fear of a single world. They knew they could not match Earth's technology, but they believed sheer weight of numbers might overwhelm even humanity's fleets, and in their desperation, they planned something darker. The coalition had chosen a target, not Earth itself, but Earth's colonies. They would strike Mars, Titan Europa, and the fragile settlements spread across Sol's outer rim. They believed Earth's fleets could not be everywhere at once. If the colonies burned, Earth's people would lose heart. If humanity saw their children slaughtered, perhaps even the mighty war machine would falter. But Earth had heard their whispers. Days before the coalition fleets jumped into Sol, humanity moved. Entire battle groups vanished from the outer colonies, leaving behind only empty stations and decoys. Mars's orbit seemed unguarded. Titan's skies looked open. The coalition believed the trap had worked. With furious resolve, they jumped. What they found waiting shattered their courage. Human fleets did not meet them in orbit. Instead, space itself came alive. Mines hidden in the void ignited, tearing through the front lines. Gravity wells unfolded, dragging ships off course, splitting formations apart. Then, as the alien fleets struggled to regain order, the true strike came. Human ships uncloaked all around them, rising from the shadows like predators in the night. Not dozens, not hundreds, thousands. The coalition had walked into humanity's chosen battlefield. Every weapon was already aimed. The battle was chaos. Alien admirals shouted orders that fell apart under the storm of human firepower. Plasma bolts splashed harmlessly against Earth's shields. Missiles that could level cities were intercepted mid-flight by swarms of autonomous drones. Where alien ships relied on brute force, humanity's fleets moved like dancers. Formations shifting with impossible precision, every ship covering another, every strike coordinated. It was not a war, it was an execution. And yet, the coalition fought with desperation. They threw ships forward, sacrificing entire lines to break through. A few managed to strike Mars's defenses, burning orbital stations and setting colonies aflame. The screams of settlers echoed across the void, and for a moment, the aliens thought they had drawn blood. But then, the human counterstrike came, and the coalition realized too late they had made their final mistake. From Mars's surface, silos opened, launching weapons the galaxy had never seen. Not simple nukes, but warheads that bent gravity and split fleets apart like glass. Entire alien armadas collapsed under the crushing pull of artificial black holes. Titan's atmosphere roared as hidden rail cannons fired, slashing through enemy cruisers with beams that tore space itself. The colonies were not weak. They were fortresses, bait, waiting for prey. By the battle's end, the void was littered with burning wreckage. Thousands of alien ships drifted silent, their crews lost to the dark. Only a fraction escaped, limping back to their empires with stories that chilled even the bravest leaders. Humanity had not just defended their colonies. They had revealed yet another layer of strength fortifications, weapons, and strategies. No one had even guessed at. The coalition's gamble had failed. What was meant to break Earth's spirit had instead broken the galaxy's will. And as the survivors whispered of what they had seen, one truth spread faster than light. Humanity had not yet shown everything. What they had revealed was only the beginning. The galaxy had taken its last gamble, and it had lost.